Minister, I'm going to take Deputy Flanagan as well because we have about 4 minutes left. You might take the two. Deputy Flanagan.
Right, thank you, Chairman. Just in relation to targets on page 31, there was a target for 2013 to end turf cutting on raised bogs. So I guess that target was missed because you didn't end turf cutting on raised bogs. You call them SSEs, I would call them so-called SSEs. But I'm just wondering, how much longer are you going to go on kidding yourself that, given that there are 9,000 Turberry right holders, land owners, on these 53 so-called SSEs, and after how many years now? 17, 18 years? 796. Now, this is after some amount of coercion, convincing some people would call it, some amount of scaremongering, a phenomenal amount. Still only 796 out of 9,000 of these Turberry right holders and landowners have basically went with what you've tried to get them to do. So I'm just wondering, when do you actually really think you will have it solved? You mention, and it is very carefully worded in fairness to you, that you accept that none of these 53 so-called SSEs have had successful relocation. And you accept that by saying that 3 groups on 3 particular bogs have accepted relocation. But after all this time, since 1997, and some people say as back as 1992, none of these bogs have been solved. Now, there's a reason for this. There's a variety of reasons, but there is one major reason, and that is because, well, people like to get something that they get in replacement for what they have. They like to get something similar, like for like. And the reason why it isn't working, and the reason why it won't work for 1,000 years, and on the 45 NHAs that you're talking about de-designating within 3 years and having it all solved, having relocation for all the other ones, it won't be solved in 1,000 years until you learn the lesson that until you offer people like for like, you won't get a solution. Because whether it be a bog, whether it be a house, or any piece of property or land, if you don't offer like for like, you're not going to get a deal. And if you were a city dweller and someone came to your door today and told you that you had to get out of your house, you'd be annoyed. Now, you might be somewhat made a little bit happier if someone told you, well, we might get you another house. But then to discover that after 65 years, your family, whether you be alive or not, would have to leave that house. You wouldn't accept it. Now, unless you offer like for like, people are never going to go for it. So keep trying to convince people that it's working. But you can set yourself a target for 2014, 2015 and 2016 to stop people cutting turf on these so-called SSEs. But until you play ball and do things fairly, that will never happen. And on the whole area of celebrating 1916, I would suggest that the best way to celebrate it would be to allow people to go in and cut their turf without dragging them through the courts, without calling them bad citizens, and without calling them criminals. And that's the best way to celebrate 1916, not with a whole lot of fluff, but with a bit of bloody reality. That's how we'll celebrate the centenary in 1916. And I'll tell you one thing for bloody well sure, Minister. I'll go in and cut my turf in 2016, and that's a fact. And so will many others. And your target of 2013 didn't work. And your target of 2014 won't work until you treat people fairly. Otherwise, the memory of 1916, that's all it'll ever be, a memory. We'll have learned nothing for what those people struck for. Freedom. There's no freedom in what you're offering us.
So we only have 40 seconds. You're not going to have enough time.
Possibly I could ask I'm sorry I was late. I was chairing.
We've closed in 30 seconds.
Well, I'll less than a minute because I'm also disappointed the meeting was held when question time was on because I wanted to get on the Gaeltacht. I can't do that now, but I hopefully will later, as in next week. But
okay, I
just would say that
15. Just make your point briefly because I have to close the meeting.
I just want to make a plea, Minister Dean, for the Montpellier bogs, are, as they're known as Carnagoppel and Gunnoge, because I think there's an impression that it's all sorted and everyone's happy, and they're far from happy, Minister, as regards relocation, or indeed even the criteria that you're setting out, where people are told, oh, you weren't cutting turf, so now you don't get anything, or indeed you were cutting turf and you shouldn't have been cutting turf. There's all this confusion going on and double speak going on. So I think it's very clear to me that people are not happy about it, and I think that should be addressed. And there's no point for people to go around saying, oh, it's all sorted, they're all relocated, because they're not actually getting like for like. I'm going to make that.
Minister, you might respond to Deputy Cohen in your own time. We don't have time to do it this afternoon. We have 2 ministers outside from the Environment. Very same positive estimates. I want to thank you for your attendance, both the ministers and the officials. The meeting is concluded. You're free to go. Thank you very much indeed.